Let's make this more of a meetup than a talk and a monologue, because I think we really have the resources and the time today to interact. Uh, Something about me, my name is Varun, and I have worked previously with Ernst& Young in IT risk and cybersecurity. My work was mainly involved with log analysis, anomaly detection, fraud detection, and a lot of database integration audits. So it was a lot of auditing and testing. From there, I realized that a lot of this data is being analyzed using Excel, and that's a waste of time and resources. There were four of us working on a project, and through that went on for the whole year. If even two of us would have spent 3 months developing scripts to do the job that we did for 1 year, it would have really improved our efficiency and even the quality of work products that were delivered. So that's when I decided to get into data science, and I joined Creative. I'm working in the academics team. We develop notebooks for our students that they learn in class, as well as a lot of projects that the students get to solve, guided and unguided projects. Simultaneously, we do some consulting for a few clients and in-house analytics, mostly marketing analytics. So these are the main topics that we'll be covering today. The first and foremost thing is for people to understand the difference between user experience and data science. Uh, what comes to your mind when I say user experience?
Navigate through website.
How do you navigate through website? What is
design of a mobile application?
Design of a mobile application. So yeah.
Efficiency of a workflow.
Efficiency of a workflow, to be more precise. So what the three things suggest are, this is more design centric. Maybe a creative person is someone who can tell you that, okay, my navigation bar should be up and not on the side. So if tomorrow Gmail just decides to keep their inbox and spam and all these tabs up, you'll probably stop using Gmail. I'm sure people, have you all used Snapchat before the upgrade? So yeah, so Snapchat used to have a very nice storyline in which you would get updates. Yeah, and they were according to the time chronology. Then Snapchat just came up with a new interface, and it recorded a drastic decrease in the number of returning users every week. So that is how much user experience and design can influence how many people come back to your product. Yeah. So these are the few things that we'll be covering today. We'll just dive in. What you see, all the round, the circles are the main components of user design, user experience design. So first you start with defining what kind of an experience you want to deliver to your clients, your customers. Then you ideate what kind of things will actually make a difference or will actually uh, attract more customers towards using your product. You build a prototype based on the idea. If the prototype passes certain tests, user experience tests, and you're satisfied, you build the product out, and then you carry out the whole iteration again and again. This goes on for the life cycle of the product. What we are trying to do here is to make smarter UX products by reducing the number of iterations that we carry out. And this can be done by integrating data analytics in our user experience workflow. So as soon as you define uh, what experiences you want to deliver to your clients, you carry out basic descriptive analytics. So there are two main branches of statistics: descriptive analytics and inferential statistics. Descriptive analytics just tells you how many users are there. It's the mean, median, mode, the basic, very basic statistics that are delivered for your users. So you carry that out. You carry out ethnographic research. Ethnographic research is something very broad. So it's essentially, if you are using Gmail, I will sit with you while you are writing your emails and navigating through your inbox. I will sit with you and see how you actually scroll up, scroll down. Why do you go back? Why do you use the browser buttons and not the buttons that I have provided to you on this Gmail interface? So that is something that's ethnographic research. It's a very broad area. This is a very small example of that. Yeah, sure.
So ethnographic, the way you describe it, it's in our term, it's called like a time study.
Yes.
You sit with this thing. So is this ethnographic also very focused to digital products?
No, it can be with any product. So I can, you must have played with this game called Mechanics. In the early development of this product by Fun School, the product designers would sit with the children for whom the product was recommended. Suppose ages 6 to 9. So they would sit with a 7-year-old and see if he's actually able to solve it using the math. If this child is not able to is not able to solve or make the car or the house or whatever, then probably your product is failing somewhere. Either it's too easy or it's too difficult for that age.
It will be used for offline.
It can be used for
very generic type of research.
yeah. Then you have then the next step where data science enters is after prototyping. After you have prototyped and created a new iteration or a new take on your already existing product, you will do something called as data wrapping. This is just you can equate it to data cleaning, data organization, and just presenting this data in a form that can be analyzed by you. Because a lot of times this data will be in a JSON, HTML, YAML format, and that is very difficult to analyze directly. You will probably have to carry out a lot of data cleaning things and remove NaN values, tag some values, treat your time series data, and make it into a form that can be processed easily. Then you carry out something called A/B testing. A/B testing is the most important part of UX design when it comes to data analytics and UX. We'll get into that later on. And then there is finally UX testing and UX research, in which there is a lot less data analytics involved, but a lot of UX engineers will sit with you and see if the product is usable or not. This is usability testing. So yeah. So that is how data analytics, which is your blue blocks, will integrate into your user experience design workflow. So as I said, here we need to reduce the number of iterations we are going through. So this is something that I heard from a person last August. I met DJ Patil, who's the chief data scientist of the United States, who was the chief data scientist of the White House. And I asked him, so what is the funda? What is it that you do to deliver so many insights? And you're looking after the data of a nation. So how do you choose what you want to do? And he said that I know a lot of my products are going to fail. Only probably 2% of the products that I work on are going to provide some tangible value. So what I do here is I do not waste time in seeing what will work and what will not. I directly dive into it, I put it in the pipeline and I see if it works or not. So when you're designing a UX product, you need to fail fast. You don't need to overthink about what aspects of design are going to be beneficial or what aspects of design are going to actually make a difference. You just put it in and you see. So fail fast, fail early, and fail often. The more often you fail, the more areas you're covering, the more areas you can rule out. Suppose you can say that, okay, my navigation bar is not working at the top. So that is one less thing you have to worry about while designing your product. Okay. So these are the key areas where you can integrate data science into user experience. That is design, personalization. Personalization is customer segmentation. That is, if you're logging into Netflix or Amazon Prime tomorrow, they will give you suggestions based on your past history, past viewing history. There's issue identification. What is wrong with my website that the customers are not returning? That I'm losing out on so many people. That a lot of pages on my website go unvisited. What is wrong? And conversational interfaces, that is chatbots. That comes under personalization and design, but it being such a new and broad field, I decided to include it separately. Okay, now we come to A/B testing. So, like I like to use the navigation bar example because that is something that's the easiest to understand. Uh, so what happens is I take a B set of people and I take an A set of people. The A set of people being my original set. So if 100 people are used to the navigation bar on the left, I'll keep 10 people out of it and For only those 10 people, I'll change my navigation bar at the top. And then I'll see if the number of returning users, if the number of users interacting with my links has increased or decreased. If it has increased, well, that is something that's working for me. I'll wait long enough to see if it's working for all the users or only for those 10 users. It can be an anomaly. Mostly these 10 users are chosen at random, so that it's a fair test. So that is essentially A/B testing. You have the A/B testing lifestyle here, which is again an iterational experimentation lifestyle. Personalization. So very recently, as I told you all, I'm working with this startup called Greyat, and our main product is something called Commit.live, which we use to teach students. So recently, we thought that since we have around 200 students learning from this application Commit.live, we can collect data from the backend and see what kind of projects are students interested in. Are they more interested in the basic projects like linear regression, clustering, NLP, or are they interested in solving full data sets? So we have projects, full end-to-end projects. So that is one of the things. The second thing is, at what time do students actually go on to Commit.live and start working? So a lot of our students are professionals, so they work during the day and they like to open Commit.live during the night. So we were planning to balance our resource allocation in terms of our AWS infra more during the night, so that we incur lesser costs and we are able to provide a better experience to our students. That is one thing. Recommender systems are another. I just gave you an example of Netflix, Amazon Prime. So that is personalization for every individual user. Include tech team and check feasibility. So one problem that we faced while seeing if Commit.live as a product can help us gain analytics is whether it is collecting this data. If our product is not collecting this data, we have nothing to analyze from. So unless we have the tech team in loop to understand what kind of data can be collected or is being collected, we cannot move forward with this. So every time you are into personalization or making changes to your website, make sure you include the tech team. Role-based versus individual-based. So this can translate into people who like horror movies. Or suppose if person X likes drama and horror movies, that'll be personalized. Role-based will be people who like horror movies will like, say, Conjuring. So you directly recommend that. So that is role-based and individual-based. And you gently encourage customization. Uh, have you all used the Play Music app on Android? So it has a home screen and it has your uh, own playlists. So more often than not, you end up on the home screen, and there you will see suggestions. It's not forcing those suggestions on you. It'll ask you, do you want to listen to, say, the Beatles? Your previous history is you have been listening to Johnny Cash and Eagles, so you'll probably end up liking the Beatles. But it's not forcing it upon you. It's not throwing Beatles songs between your Kishore Kumar songs. So you have to encourage it gently. You cannot be imposing towards your consumer.
It's the same as the recommended system, right?
Yes.
Like how what Netflix is doing.
Exactly. But from my personal experience, I have found Amazon Prime and Netflix to be more aggressive in terms of recommending. So if I'm someone who has been watching The Big Bang Theory or Young Sheldon and Scrubs at the same time, then Netflix will never recommend The Mentalist or Doctor or House MD to me. It'll just categorize me into one segment, and even if I am someone who would want to watch The Mentalist, which is a drama and crime
It won't
sitcom,
recommend that.
yeah, it will not recommend that. Even when I try to go through the whole page, all the suggestions, I will never find The Mentalist.
But look at the statistics for Netflix, they keep rising only.
Yes.
It's not personalized, so how is that?
It is personalized. It's heavily personalized, and maybe because I have such a varied set of interests, I
Or are they looking at different parameters only? Are they looking at how much time you're spending? They're not subjective at all. It is quantitative to
Maybe.
He likes to spend too much time watching things. Let's put the new thing.
Let's give him things with long show times, with a huge number of seasons, and
Probably likes old school stuff and give him old school opinion. He likes these things. Yeah, I think they're
Probably.
very competitive.
yeah. So
Google Music is a very good example.
Yeah. Okay, so that was personalization. Now the next, and what I believe the most important, is issue identification. Even if I'm not getting more users from personalization, I should not be losing out on my already existing users. That is more important. User retention is more important for me than gaining more users. Uh, so you can analyze traffic issues. If suddenly, if you have subscribed to Google AdWords and suddenly your traffic increases, but it's not from Google, then you need to figure out, I just subscribed to AdWords and I'm still not getting any visitors out of that, but via some other place. So what may be the reason? That is one thing. Or maybe via Google you're getting more visitors on your page. Then technical issues. If an element is not loading properly, the bounce rate on your page is going to be high. So have you all used uh, for a short while, MTNL, the broadband service provider, had its own speed checking application in between. It did not work out because the module just won't load. So that is why MTNL started redirecting all its users who want to conduct a speed check to speedtest.net, which is the application by Ookla, which most of us use. Uh, so that's an increase in bounce rate. Browser and screen optimization. I can figure out if most of my Chrome users from Android are closing my website, not browsing it, then probably my website is not well optimized for Chrome, and I should change that. Visual design issues. So this is one beautiful analytics tool that I found online. It's called Crazy Egg. It's paid. So if you want to use it, you will have to shell out quite a lot of money. But Crazy Egg.
How much?
I don't really know, but it's upwards of say some $30-40. It's okay. If you have the funding, then you can go for it. But it's not for academic or research or just playing around purposes.
How does it work?
So they make heat maps. It mostly analyzes clickstream data and where the users are actually hovering or clicking on your website. So as you can see, the most heat is over here. That is the search button. So what can you figure out from this? If most of your users have to go to the search button to find stuff on your website, that means probably your navigation is not that good. That users have to resort to searching to find whatever they are looking for. So the first thing I would change is incorporate more things onto my website. The second thing I see is a lot of users are subscribing here and giving me their emails. So that is this covering at least 25% of my page. It's possible that my content is not getting as much attention. So maybe I would want to change that. If getting more people to subscribe to my newsletters is not my aim, then I would probably want to change that. Navigation issues are again 404 errors. So I'm sure most of you have been bugged by 404 errors. Suddenly, you probably try to access an old URL that was embedded somewhere, and then wow, it's not there anymore. So you can figure out what pages are leading to the 404 errors page, and accordingly alter your website to adjust for that. Now we come to conversational interfaces. So again, while working at Grey Atom, uh, we we have our website that's on WordPress, our main website, and people can log into that, see the course curriculum, see the fee structure and all of that. And we also have a chat window at the bottom. So what we had till now was a person was sitting at the back end and answering student queries. We wanted to change that completely and not hire one whole person and give him give him a year's salary just to chat with people. That is not something that we wanted to invest in. So we thought that we'll make a chatbot. We'll make a chatbot using the already existing corpus of text that we have obtained when this woman was interacting with the students in the past. So there are a few issues in that you need to cover. That is authentication. You need to know whom you're talking to. If it's spam, not spam. If it's spam, then I'm not going to consider it for training my algorithm, for training my chatbot. If it's not spam, obviously I'm going to use it. Context. If the person is someone who wants to work at our company, or if a person is someone who wants to find out the placement statistics or the course, or he wants to actually enroll into it right now. So these are a few things that you need to keep in mind if you're designing a chatbot for your system. You have to be straight to the point. You must integrate the bot well into your system so that it's not distracting the user in any way. It provides value instead of distracting the user onto a chat interface where the user will just call, hey, hi, you're stupid. That's how a lot of us interact with chatbots. I have done it and I still like to do it. So that should be kept in mind. And you should engage the users. The chatbot should be able to provide you with answers and links that will actually engage the user into a conversation. I cannot have the chatbot going on, hey, sorry, I do not know the placement statistics. If I do not know the placement statistics, then it's very rare that the person will pick up the phone, call one of my call center people and ask them. That's not going to happen. The user is simply going to go away from the website and probably never going to look at my course ever again. Leverage the data that you capture in the bot conversation. All the data that you're capturing, even though you have already trained your bot very well, you should feed this data back into the pipeline so as to improve the performance of a chat. Quantitative versus qualitative analysis. So I think someone here was working in NLP. So you must be aware of sentiment analysis, qualitative analysis. So what approach do you usually take if you have an array of sentiments? Like sad, happy, if you have something like that, how do you quantify it? Do you take the counts or do you tag it as 1, 2, 3 and
Well, we can't feed most of the algorithms doesn't work on the word we feed. Okay. So first of all, what I will do is, as we have so many sentiments like cyber, first I will numberize that the whole
exactly. So you will assign a code to it.
Or index the
correct, or an index to it, and using that you will identify, your algorithm will identify what sentiment it is, because algorithms are very bad at identifying happy, sad, true, false. That is not something that algorithms are good at. So this assigning of numbers is called coding. You assign a specific code to each and every user behavior or sentiment or qualitative analysis. Then you make code frames out of it. If there is a series of sentiments following one after the other, then there's a specific code frame. If I'm usually happy and then I'm sad, so then that makes one code frame. If I'm sad and then happy, then that makes another code frame. Then there's something called issue triangulation. We found out that we have a lot of ways in which we can find out what issues are with our existing website. But how do we find out why these issues exist? Okay, so the user is using the search because he cannot find the information. But what is the kind of information that the user expects? That cannot be found alone with quantitative analysis. You have to carry out some qualitative analysis. As we can see here, 1 in 30 people will take a free ice cream cone. That is your quantitative analysis. That gives you a number, 1 out of 30. That is the probability. But the qualitative analysis is the one person who took the ice cream cone, the free ice cream cone. Why did he take it? What was going on in his mind? What were the fears that were in his mind? Probably those fears are the ones shared by the other 29 people who did not take the cone. So if we are able to address those, we'll be able to increase the probability of people taking free ice cream cones from us. Yeah. So the earlier part of the presentation was about how you can integrate data science into user experience. Now we see how data science products can be more conscious about the users that are going to be interacting with these. So I have this small, yeah. So this is a small application created by North Carolina State University. They have something called the Twitter sentiment analysis. I'm sure everyone who is starting off with NLP has heard of this project, Twitter sentiment analysis, where you scrape data from Twitter using their APIs, and you carry out sentiment analysis on a corpus of tweets. So that is what a data scientist will do. But what if your manager, who does not have any clue about what NLP is, about what Python is, how is that person going to find out what sentiment the people share at this point in time with respect to a particular keyword? He's not going to be able to run a Python code onto his machine or a Jupyter notebook. You have to make some application for him that is easy for him to interact with, and that is exactly what sentiment viz is. So what I did was I typed in the keywords Gaza. It's a part of the Middle East, and a lot of times it's mentioned in uh, newspaper reports about bombings and kidnappings and all things negative. So it's bound to happen that Twitter, while people are tweeting about it, people are not going to be very relaxed or calm or excited about bombings. So that is something that you can find out easily using this. As we can see here, more of the sentiments are skewed towards the upset, unpleasant, stressed, and nervous side, and that is something that we can confirm from our human intuition. So this is a great example of how a user-conscious data science application is made. Sorry. Yeah. Another thing to keep in mind is do not keep asking the user for data. The users are ultimately going to deny it. Nobody likes to, and as we all know, privacy is becoming a great concern nowadays with all the Cambridge Analytica and Facebook thing happening. So people are not going to be willing to give you their data on a daily basis. So you can't ask them to keep entering surveys and how you feel about the product. You'll have to collect some data passively so that it does not interfere with the way the user is interacting with the system. You have to give the user control. At any point the user wishes to opt out of sharing the data, they should be able to do so. That is something that is more on the ethics side than the data science side. Invoke discovery and delight. So as I said about the play music application, if play music is recommending me Hey Jude, I will be happy. Oh nice, this is a great song, I got to listen to it, and my experience, this happy experience will just send me back to the application. Build trust with transparency. So when I'm getting the suggestion for Hey Jude and Google Play Music just writes, this is because you listen to Hotel California. Then I know, oh, okay, so maybe because I'm into retro music, it's suggesting me Hey Jude. Or maybe if I'm into music from, maybe if I'm into classic rock, it's suggesting me this music. That way I know how my data is actually being used. Visualize. Has anyone used Google Analytics? So you have to do nothing. You just have to plug it in and Google Analytics will do your job for you. So here you are not an analyst, you are a user for Google Analytics. And what they have created here is giving you so many visualizations for each and every step that you don't have to go and read through the data. You can just hover your mouse over the graph and you will know what's happening at this point in time. So that's how important visualizations are. And as far as I know, Google Analytics is one of the strongest tools for carrying out web analytics automatically at least. And blend it in. Your data science product should not be something, it should stand out as a product, but it should not interfere as a product. You have to blend it in so well that the users think that it's a part of the experience and not something external that they have to devote. Thank you.